Welcome to Royal Legacy, where we will explore the rich athletic history and deep family connections of BYU sports. Join us as we honor the past, celebrate the present, and look forward to the future of the BYU Cougars. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Lauren McClain, and welcome to Royal Legacy, where we dive deep into the family connections of BYU sports. This week, we revisit a past episode of Royal Legacy, where I speak with Matt and Emily Bushman, Matt, a former BYU football star, and Emily, a volleyball standout, as they share their incredible journeys after leaving BYU. Thanks for listening, and Royal Legacy, we'll be back with a new episode soon. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you coming on with me.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here.
You're busy because you have two beautiful little girls, and then you have a baby on the way, which is great. Like, we're talking right around the corner, right?
I know, yeah.
Like any day.
Weeks, so I tell people any day, but I know I haven't ever gone early really, so I'm not planning on it, but it would be nice.
I know you're at the point where you're like, please, couple weeks early would do some good for everybody. Well, how would you guys describe what it's like going from athlete to parent? We'll start with Emily.
Oh, going from athlete to parent. I for sure always wanted to be a mom. Being the oldest of 7, I have looked forward to that my whole life. But and you think being an athlete is hard, but being a mom is harder. So it's more exhausting than even being a D1 athlete and being on such a successful team. So I've loved it. It's the best thing that I've ever done, but it's more exhausting than playing volleyball at BYU, I would say.
You thought you were tired then. And then look at you now. Yeah. Matt, what's your favorite part of having those sweet little baby girls call you dad?
I think it's just they're always right now, like you're the hero to them. I know they grow up and get some attitude and maybe don't think that way, but hopefully. But yeah, it's always fun walking through the door. They're usually pretty excited and just want me to have fun, roughhouse, and be the fun dad. So yeah, that's the best part.
Matt, almost 1 year ago, you decided to move away from the NFL unless a great opportunity presented itself. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And football has been such a giant part of your life up until now. So how would you describe what this last year away from football has been like for you?
It's been good and also weird. I feel like I set myself up so that I could make it as seamless of a transition as possible. But obviously, football is something that you do your whole life. It doesn't really transfer over to anything. Like there's some sports that you can transfer over and still play for the rest of your life. I don't want to be the guy playing in the 40 and up league with no health insurance benefits and all that. So it's been challenging, but like I said, I kind of knew I had the hopes the last year with the Chiefs that some window, tiny little crevice opening would occur to give me that opportunity. And for some reason that wasn't happening. So I always had my hopes was prepared and ready to go if an injury happened or if someone needed me. But it was kind of that answer of like, okay, if these doors aren't opening, it looks like I need to make that next step. So I had kind of prepared and had a plan going in, and thankfully it was a quick turnaround and was able to get into a job fast. But yeah, it's definitely weird, but I'm always rooting on the guys that are still playing and getting after it.
Yeah, because that's still pretty fresh. Like when you've dedicated your entire life, a year out of that is basically no time at all. So that's very fresh for you. Emily, what's it been like from your perspective this past year?
Yeah, people ask me a lot, how's Matt doing this first year off, and this first now whole season has gone by without football. And I try to explain, like, I believe that no matter when you choose to be done with the sport you've played your whole life, it's a transition and it's hard. Whether you only played in high school, that first year or two after, you're like, okay, wow, I was, devoting so much time to that sport. And whether you played in college and obviously at the pro level, it takes some transition. So I knew that would take some transition time, but I think Matt has done really well about just diving into what he's doing now and making that his focus so quickly. And it's still fun to watch the Chiefs and watch the Cougars. So rooting for them always, and we'll always be a sports family. But it's been fun to watch him transition and work hard at this as well. And he says there's no transfer after football, but definitely his work ethic and all those things have transferred well. So
Yeah. And I think that's such a good perspective that no matter what sport you play, at some point it's going to come to an end, right? Whether it's sooner or later, but then you're going to have to go through that transition period. So I think you guys are doing an amazing job. And I want to go back to the beginning of your little family story. So Matt, how did you and Emily meet at BYU?
So we met, it was my freshman year, pretty soon after my mission. I was playing baseball at the time. Emily had some friends on the baseball team, and we initially met, I think the official was at Legends Grill, where I just finally introduced myself, said, "Hey, Emily, you're Emily, right?" And we kind of hit it off. Not necessarily hit it off, but hit the conversation off that way. And then as throughout that baseball season, we kind of got into dating and hanging out with some of those baseball teammates and her volleyball teammates. And yeah, it turned into dating. We dated for about a year and then got engaged a couple days after Valentine's Day.
A year. Very atypical. Proud of you guys.
And
you really took the time.
We took a little more time than some BYU students take.
Yes.
Out of all of those, like 10 or 12 kind of baseball friends that we had, they all married athletes. I think 10 out of 11 of them or something all. So we really did have a fun little group that we played beach volleyball together that first year, and that was fun.
Emily, what was it about Matt that made you know that he was someone that you wanted to marry?
I definitely would remember and describe his confident humility. That was like a goal that we used as a team, to be confident and humble. And when I met Matt, that was so obvious that he had both of those two qualities, that he was just steady and he wasn't the loudest guy in the room, always trying to take all the attention for sure. But he just had a real quiet, humble confidence about him, and still has that. And yeah, I think I thought I would be like looking for the loud, super energetic type athlete, and I realized that that's not what I needed. I needed someone steady and consistent and calm, and I'm so thankful Matt is still that way.
Well, that's kind of what your dad is.
He calls it confident humility. Just too awkward to be arrogant, I guess.
You're like, let's call it for what it is. Well, I feel like hearing your dad and mom's story, and he just was like, hey, Michelle. So maybe that's why you thought that's what you were looking for, but then you found this.
Everyone says that, like, oh, you married your dad. I'm like, actually, I married my mom. I am more my dad. So
that's so awesome.
Attract.
Matt, what was it about Emily that stood out to you once you really got to know her?
I feel like kind of the same thing. Like, she's very confident in herself and was very outgoing, and just made everything super, I guess, comfortable and like smooth when we were, going through those awkward stages of first dates and dating and just figuring everything out. I was recent off the mission, and yeah, I don't look back and wish those days were still the same, because it's just like those weird times. It takes a little bit of time. So yeah, I think just being so confident in herself and outgoing, and just everything was, I don't know, easy talking to her. And sometimes it didn't always feel that way with other people. So when I was getting more and more serious, I was always attracted to Emily for that.
And it has to help that you've mentioned before, Emily, that athletes tend to marry athletes because you kind of understand what each other are going through. You understand your schedules and everything like that. Do you guys feel like that helped you to connect in your relationship as well?
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely still our hobbies of watching sports or doing things together. So I feel like it definitely helps to date someone during that time when I mean, my brother's going through it right now. He's like, Emily, I have no time to date. I don't meet anyone. I'm just going straight weights and practice and food and sleep. And if you date another athlete, then they understand that too. And you make little time pockets where you can find them. So that was definitely helpful.
You're like, just hang out at Legends Grill and
I
the
told
rest will
him.
take care of
I
itself.
said, Jeff, how much do you
It's not
eat in
that
Legends?
hard.
He said, I never do. I just go home. I'm like, oh, that's why you're not
That's
meeting
what
girls
it
yet.
is. That's what it is right now. Okay,
Yeah.
Matt, who's the most competitive between the two of you? Because you mentioned that's still like a shared hobby that you guys have. You're both elite athletes. Who's the most competitive between the two of you?
I'm more like, I don't know if I'm more
Not me.
quietly competitive. I'm not like going to take it to, I feel like I'm pretty easygoing, but I'm
Okay.
still, yes, I am competitive. So I guess I'll
Probably
say
you.
me so I don't make it a negative for Emily.
I just listened to my parents' podcast too, and I know they had mentioned that they don't get that competitive with each other, and I'd say we're actually the same way. I know couples that really
Yeah.
they can't not be, and it's just kind of not us in our marriage for some reason. So there's been times that we played, either beach volleyball, indoor volleyball, or like spike ball or something that it gets a little competitive, but never that much.
That's
We
probably
have some
good.
friends that get a little too into pickleball, and it's like
Fight start.
the husbands are like, it's not good
Healthy.
marriage advice to do that. So
Just
we haven't
don't
gotten
share
into
this
that quite yet.
podcast with them.
We haven't gotten into that quite yet, but we might keep it easy or within our own genders.
Yeah. That's probably smart. That's always awkward when you're on a date with people and you're like, oh, look at the time. You know, like they start fighting. You're like, okay, time for us to go. Yeah, I'm glad you guys aren't that couple. You both come from extremely athletic families. Matt, when was it that you initially found out, like, okay, Chad Lewis is Emily's dad, and it's kind of a big deal?
So that was in college. I didn't really know. People thought that I knew, like, oh, tight end, like you're just trying to find this professional tight end's daughter and date her. Like I didn't. I grew up from my early childhood when Chad was playing in Louisiana, in New Orleans. So I didn't necessarily. I was a little kid. Like I didn't. Now I know who Chad is, but yeah, I didn't know the superstar. I think my dad obviously knew him and knew how good he was, but yeah, I was just a kid, Saints fan, not like a diehard NFL
Yeah.
guy. I was just playing any sport and running around outside. So yeah, when I got to college, I remember I met Chad. I did this little like summer, they called it like the summer bridge when Bronco was still there.
Uh-huh.
And I remember Chad was like, hey, like you're going to be good. You know, like how he instills that, hypes you up. I was like, sweet. And then I kind of found out who he was and I was like, oh, it's awesome. But yeah, coming back from the mission, and it wasn't like I wasn't targeting anyone. It was.
Right.
And I kind of liked that you didn't know who he was. I knew that most of the athletes who had been there probably knew since he was working there as well. And I kind of liked that you didn't know and didn't care.
Was that something, Emily, that you found was like sometimes intimidating to guys, or something where you're like, let's talk about something else besides my dad and what he does, you know?
Good question. As far as dating, I never felt that was a hurdle. Maybe I went into BYU expecting it to be a little bit like, is this going to be intimidating? And it really wasn't. I'd say it was friends more that would kind of talk about my dad or ask questions more than dates. So not too bad.
Matt, you had to deal with some heartbreaking injuries during your career at BYU. What was happening in your athletic life when the two of you decided to get married?
When we decided to get married, I feel like I was pretty healthy at that time. I had a good, I always had random injuries, but I didn't miss a game in my first three seasons. So I had a couple surgeries, this and that, but at that time, had a good, kind of decided to stop playing baseball because it started out when I got back from my mission. It was baseball season. Decided to not continue with baseball, just it wasn't coming as natural, and kind of just had like a good trajectory with football. And it was like, okay, wow, like I I do like football more. So I'm going to stick with this one. It wasn't like too hard, and it was like an easier transition, and had a good freshman season. Going into that sophomore year, that's when we were kind of doing the wedding planning that summer in June. So it was like right when you have that 2 week summer break. That was right when we got married. So I actually had to run every step of Lavelle Edwards Stadium the morning of our temple sealing and everything, as because I was going to miss the official like last workout before summer break. So
I totally forgot you had to do that.
yeah,
Wow.
it was not easy. So it was me and one strength coach, and he was just kind of watching me, and I was just hoping and praying that I wouldn't cramp up at the wedding or would have,
Gosh.
have an energy drink or two to not be too tired. But yeah, it was kind of just in a good timing. Things were going well. I was playing pretty well, obviously had a lot to work on and figure out, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where we were at that time.
Emily, what about for you? What was happening with you athletically during that time that you guys decided to get married?
Yeah, that was, let's see, right before my senior year, and it was right before your junior year. And
Is it junior year or senior year?
oh yeah, did we do 2 seasons together? 2018? No, we got married
Sophomore
in 2018.
year. I was going into my sophomore.
Sorry, I meant sophomore.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There we go.
And it was just so fun to be able to support each other. But the toughest part was that first year we were married, obviously fall season is volleyball and football. Every single week that he was home, I was away and vice versa. So he was able to come to some of my Tuesday, Wednesday games. But during the weekends he was gone. And if I was on the road, I was watching his game from Chili's or wherever we were eating that night, or on my phone or something. So that was definitely tough. I decided to not use my 5th year, which allowed me to watch his senior year. So 2 years later.
Junior year.
He didn't have a senior year. Why do I keep saying that?
Yeah.
Allowed me to watch your junior year. And I'm so thankful for that, because I remember just being, always wanting to be there to watch you, and what a fun time that was. And so being able to, I'm glad that I said no to that 5th year so that I could really enjoy watching Matt.
Matt, when those injuries did come, and you had a pretty devastating one before that senior season, how was Emily a strength for you during that time?
She was super just supportive of, obviously decided to not continue to play and pursue her last like 5th year option. So just knew that I had potential to make it to the next level. And we were dedicated to that. That was the main focus. And yeah, just always supportive. Went to a ton of games, some of the away games, and yeah, it was awesome. It was fun to see, have the love of your life along with your family kind of cheering you on, and just adds to it. So I know that going into that senior season, we felt even more confident. Like, man, we've met with some NFL agents. We've maybe don't think that if I left after my junior year that it'd be a late round draft pick or something. So let's stick it out another season and just dominate. And then
through COVID.
Mm-hmm. So then COVID hits with spring ball, like right when we were starting that spring ball, COVID hits. We're told to not be on campus, but still train. And, it was challenging, but I found ways to work out in gyms that people had at their houses, or, so I was still in top tier shape and feeling really, really good about it. And that fall camp was doing great. Felt like I was the focal piece of the offense, and Zach Wilson and I had a great connection, and just timing and everything was going well. But yeah, my Achilles just thought otherwise. And it's a fluke thing. Usually you see someone that tears their Achilles, it's when they're like planting or breaking all their weight on like an explosive thing. I was just running a straight line at the end of practice, like it was a trick play that we were prepping for. And just felt like someone kicked me like super, super hard, or they say it's almost feeling like you get shot or something. So I just dropped to the ground, had this crazy cramp in my calf, was hoping that it was just a really bad calf cramp and dehydration, but no. that was the Achilles that kind of balled up into my upper calf. So that was super tough, because you're like, man, why are we coming back for, you know what I mean? Like, why did we feel like we needed to come back and prove it? And then you can't even showcase anything
Right.
on a national television or for any scouts to potentially see. So that was a weird one, but I know Emily was always supportive through it all. And I'm super grateful to have her during that time.
Emily, what role would you say faith played in getting both Matt and yourself through that time where you thought maybe one thing was going to happen and then boom, this thing's happened and kind of turned your world upside down?
Great question. Yeah, I've still never had to rely on my faith more than at that time. That was, I would say, the hardest time of our marriage. Seeing him so distraught, and with that, he tore it 2 weeks before having our first baby, Andy. So I was helping him through the night, taking his bottoms on and off to go to the bathroom if he needed, when I was so pregnant, and then knowing I'd have a newborn, and it was just, I was forced to my knees during that time. And in my head, I was like, oh, he's still going to go to the NFL for sure. But Matt maybe was more realistic in his head of all those dreams might be over. And yeah, we just finished meeting with agents and talking about where I would get drafted. And there's a chance I will never play a day in the NFL. And so that was really hard. And I just listened to Taysom on the All In podcast. And he said some great advice that Elder Uchtdorf had told him right when he got injured at the Nebraska game. And Elder Uchtdorf said, if God wanted you to be out on that football field this season, you would be. So go find out why he doesn't want you out there right now. And there's other plans that he has for you. And that still, it was still such a hard time to think about that Achilles tear, what that would have done for your career, where you would have been drafted, kind of all the what ifs, because BYU had such a good, Zach Wilson tore it up that year and the whole team. But for sure, I know that all of that happened for a reason, as hard as that trial was. And it still stings a little bit. It does. It was a hard trial that we went through. And, but yeah, I've never had to rely on the Lord more in that time. And I'm so thankful that we came closer together during that time, and definitely closer to the Savior.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty powerful. So you guys head off into the NFL. Matt, you started with the Raiders and ended up with the Kansas City Chiefs for a few years. What were those first few years like, trying to prove yourself at the next level, like prove that you belonged?
Yeah, it was tough. One, because everything Raiders training camp wise was still fresh from a Achilles rupture recovery. Pro day was right at that 6th, 7th month mark, where is right where you should be recovered. But yeah, I wasn't my normal self. And then into training camp, I hadn't blocked anyone since that fall camp of that previous, you know what I mean? So there was no live reps, none of that. And I feel like I still performed well. But NFL playbooks are no joke. Depth charts are no joke. Kind of those preconceived things of, oh, you're injury, what's the right word? Injury prone or something like that. Those do ring true in those NFL offices. So thankfully, John Gruden was a huge advocate for me. He was the head coach, and he saw the potential and my strengths of catching the ball naturally and making things happen. So he was in my corner. Special teams coach, not so much. And that was kind of my only way to make the 53-man roster was through special teams. But it was always week by week. I remember week 5 of that rookie season, John Gruden comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Bushman, you ready? Be ready. Week 5." It was week 4, I think it was week 4 of that season. Week 5, you're getting your shot, man. And, I'm like, sweet, this is awesome. I'm prepping for it. That week is when the whole John Gruden NFL scandal thing came out, where he got fired, and the special teams coach became the interim head coach. And I was just like, okay, if this is...
We saw the writing on the wall. This guy's not going to want to keep you around.
I was like, it went from I'm on the cusp of getting that opportunity to make something happen to okay, coming home to Emily, like, I don't know if tomorrow I'm going to see an NFL locker room anymore.
Oh my gosh.
So it was super, super uneasy, but continued on. And then they randomly just released me one morning 2 days before Christmas. They texted me. My tight ends coach texted me. He's like, "Hey, are you in the facility already?" And I woke up to that message at he'd messaged me at 5 a.m. I'm like, "Okay, you've never texted me that before, Emily. I think I'm getting released." So that all went down. They said, "Hey, stay in town for Christmas. We'll sign you right back after this game." And I was like, "Okay." I'm pretty close to Arizona. I think I'm going to go to Arizona for Christmas and see my family, since you guys did release me. At least enjoy that time. But I will be back for them to sign me back. And for some reason, they kept kind of pushing it down the line. "Oh, well, we can't re-sign you yet, but we're going to sign you here shortly. And if that doesn't happen, we'll sign you to that off-season futures deal." And at that point, when the GM was saying that, I was like, honestly, I'm going to go test my luck somewhere else, because I knew that the Bengals were interested in having me try out. And after I'd committed to that tryout, I tested positive, asymptomatically, with COVID. And
Oh my goodness.
in Cincinnati, the morning of they tested us before the tryout. So I'm like, gosh dang it again. I can't even showcase anything. So thankfully, Coach Reed had also called my agent and said, "We'd like to sign him. No need for a tryout." So I was like, dang,
Pumped.
yeah, we were pumped. And I was like, I'll just drive straight, forget this asymptomatic stuff. I feel fine. But I had to sit in Cincinnati in this random ghetto hotel for
10 days.
Yeah, was it 10 days?
Oh
It was
my
about
gosh.
I think 10 days.
about
They were
10
taking
days
it
or
very
so.
seriously at that time.
And yeah, it was super serious still at the time. And I had to wait a certain amount of days and then test negative. So that was crazy. And that was right when, 2020, I was January of 2021, right after New Year's. So that was when the Chiefs lost in the AFC Championship and
To the Bengals.
But it was also that really cool win with 13 seconds left against the Bills, and just crazy, where I kind of went from it kind of felt with what happened with Coach Gruden, and it seemed like all the coaches on the Raiders staff were just kind of fighting for their own lives and their own jobs. And then I get to the Chiefs, and it's this insanely consistent culture of just excellence and winning. And I'm like, okay, this is what I expected in a professional locker room. So it was awesome. And then that kind of trickled into signing that futures deal after that season and testing my luck and getting injured again after playing a good game. But it happens.
It was that preseason game. They just killed it, right? You had 2 touchdowns and
Lauren
then got
knows
injured.
Yep. So that training camp, I did pretty well. I feel like I did pretty well. But what was it? Going into week 2 of the preseason, it was friendly fire. This guy ran into me on a jet motion, a full speed motion, where the tight end, one guy's going this way and I go this way to block the defensive end. And it was a rookie receiver on a full speed motion ran into me, not knowing the full play. And I sprained a ligament in my knee pretty bad. So I had to sit out of the week 2 game because of that, because of someone else's just mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shoot, I can't afford to miss a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got met with some doctors that I knew, because I couldn't tell the Chiefs right away. They would have cut me on the spot. But then it was bad enough where I had to go back and let the Chiefs know. Sat out of that game. And then week 3, still, they were like, you're probably not, I've never seen someone recover this fast from a MCL, bad sprain. I'm like, well, I'm not recovered, but I'm going to tell you I am. So they taped it up super good. And all that went away when you're scoring touchdowns. So
Right.
there were a couple plays where I was able to make and score some touchdowns, and it felt like things were aligning. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make this team. And if I'm not going to make the Chiefs team, like someone is going to be impressed enough to give me a shot. And then the next ball that I catch, I just kind of wasn't even a bad tackle or anything, but just landed funky and broke my collarbone pretty bad. So then again, it was just that deflating feeling like, gosh, dang it, like you can't make this up, but here we are.
Drove back to Utah after your surgery, and my mom came in and flew Andy home, and spent that season in Utah besides, and then got brought back to the team right before the playoffs and got to enjoy the Super Bowl. So that was a sweet ending to kind of a bitter season.
What a wild ride, you guys.
That
is just crazy.
Should we book this long-term Airbnb? I think we should. I think I'm going to make the team, or I'm at least going to make the practice squad. So we book it, and then I have to get surgery, and like it was a collarbone, so I could drive with the other hand. I wasn't on pain meds, so drove that 16-hour trip back to Utah, and was hoping that a team would pick me up. And I'm like, gosh, dang it, no one's gonna want to trust this older guy who's had a slew of injuries. And that was kind of when I started that prep of like, okay, I at least need to have a job somewhere if the NFL is not going to pick me up. And everyone was like, you have to ride it out as long as you can. You need to make this happen. I'm like, oh, I know I want to, but like, let's read between the lines here. I'm a older RM, getting hurt a lot. And so that's when I initially, this company that I work for, PAX, I had like was able to arrange a lunch and kind of hear it out.
Yeah.
And they were basically like, well, if you ever want to pursue this, we'll have a spot for you when you choose to be done. And thankfully the Chiefs did sign me back. We win that Super Bowl. I signed a futures deal, did the whole off-season training. And my mindset was kind of like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to make this team. But if I don't, it probably means that it's time to be done.
Yeah.
Just because a lot goes into it when you're married with kids and you have a supportive wife who wants to travel back and forth with the off-season stuff. It is a lot, and it wasn't too much for us, but it did kind of put it in the back of your mind, like, okay,
right,
we want the best case scenario to happen, and we're going to make it happen. So I went out and through like the OTAs, which is kind of like the non-padded practices, I led the team in receptions through that time, and I had the great connections. Wasn't getting a ton of reps with Mahomes at that time, but with Blaine Gabbert, Shane Buechele, all the quarterbacks, it was like, okay, if someone's not open, they would just kind of find me, and it was working. Yeah. And then same thing in training camp. I led all receivers, all tight ends, was going with the 1s, 2s, 3s, and it was kind of the same result. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen this year. And yeah, I think all my teammates that season 2 were like, okay, this is going to work. But yeah, at the end of the day, same result. I had one touchdown. Like there weren't any like crazy preseason wins for me, but I feel like I did a pretty decent job. And that final cut day, I was waiting in line at a barber shop, feeling pretty confident. I'm like, okay, it's like the afternoon now. No one's called me. I'm gonna go get a haircut. And then as I'm like about to go up to get my haircut, I get the call to head back to
which means you've been cut,
the training facility, for them to talk with us and tell us that we've been cut for these reasons. And I was like, usually you take it and you try to be very professional about it. But this time I was like, okay, why? Like, I need reasons why you got it. And it wasn't Brett Veach. It was like an assistant GM, but I was just like, I was completely blindsided this time because I felt like I performed well enough.
Yeah.
So that was that was tough, but the same thing where I was like, okay, I'm going to be prepared week after week. I'm going to try to do everything I can and make this team or get brought up and like stay on the active roster. And that was kind of the point where I was like, okay, this team's doing great. No tight ends getting injured, or if they are, they're able to play through it. So, and no other NFL teams calling. So it was just time to hang it up. And still incredible experiences being on Super Bowl teams and being on such a great team and around some of the best players and potentially NFL history. It's awesome. But yeah, going back to that, like competitive, who is competitive? I am still competitive, and you play football to play, not just to practice and hope to play. So there were times where like I felt like I was waking up and hitting my head on the ceiling of what they were kind of projecting it to be, and that was tough at times.
Yeah.
But there's always things to transition out of, and that's why I am doing what I'm doing now.
I just can't even imagine, because you mentioned you were playing with some of the best players in the NFL and potentially in history, and you're like, I'm hanging with these guys. Like, I could be here. I deserve to be here. That's got to just be maddening mentally as well. But yeah, physically, I can't imagine how you feel. But mentally, for the both of you, that had to have been so extremely difficult. Emily, what was it like for you? You got this little family, and then you have your husband that's dealing with all this, and what was it like for you?
That's a nice question. I leaned on my mom so much. I feel very fortunate that I had parents who went through this same thing. And it wasn't smooth sailing for them all the time either. Lots of bumps in the road, getting cut, coaches who don't always like you, and then finding Andy Reid, who really is just a great coach and a great man to play for, and we're so thankful for that. So for me, I was just along for the ride. I was okay at this stage with our girls being little. It was not easy to move around, but it was part of the fun, and I was okay doing it, and really found joy in every place that we got to live. So whether it was Scottsdale training for the NFL or Las Vegas or here in Kansas City, like I just really learned to love it and learn what it's like being away from home and having to kind of make your own roots where you're living, and getting cut in Vegas and having to move back to Utah by myself while he was in Cincinnati. Things like that are not hard or not easy. They are hard. And so those are kind of the behind the scenes that not everyone would notice or see. And maybe nowadays with TikTok and podcasts and seeing the women's side, people see that a little bit more, but the wives and the girlfriends deal with a lot of kind of the behind the scenes that the players are obviously going through, the hardships and the injuries that everyone sees. But overall, it was such a blast to me, and I'm thankful for my mom who went through it and could kind of coach me through it as well.
Something that was cool about Kansas City is you guys had like the Elliots and the Whittinghams, right? And then obviously the Reeds, a few others, I'm sure, with BYU ties. Yeah. How would you say that kind of at least enhanced or maybe made your experience with the Chiefs a little bit better?
Yeah, it was really cool. Like I said, like I would say being on the Raiders was a typical NFL locker room or NFL like culture. And then coming to the Chiefs, not only was it like this winning greatness, expecting the Super Bowl every season, there was also just kind of this different feel of Coach Reid expects maybe a little bit more
cleaner culture.
Yeah, like a cleaner culture, a little bit more professional, and no NFL locker room is going to be this clean,
right?
A BYU type setting, but he still expected maturity or professionalism and stuff like that. So it did have a different feel to it, and obviously that's from the top down. So that's how Coach Reid operates and doesn't take BS from anyone, and he'll gives you chances, but you know what I mean? Like he holds you to a high standard. So that was really awesome. Not only like football IQ, learning the game, seeing how he taught what he had taught Mahomes and Kelsey, and then how that trickles down to me. Like, I feel like my football IQ had really advanced because I was understanding just everything about the defenses and why we're doing this, or why each person has to be in this certain area. So it was just awesome. And it's like, yeah, no duh, the Chiefs are always in these big time games, is because they really are the most prepared, just in every situation. Sometimes there's times where you watch a college football game or something and you're like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? 2 minute offense. Like, they just blew it. And I'm like, no, like, that would never fly. Or if it does, like, you're gone. It would never fly with the Chiefs because we've
They're
gone
too
over
prepared.
every single scenario. So that was a lot of fun. And then, yeah, his son, like Spencer Reed, who was a strength coach, so we could always kind of whisper, chit chat about the Cougs or something. And Porter, just the biggest BYU fan ever, always just loving life, loving the opportunities that he has, and how much he's taken advantage of those small opportunities of getting to be a part of the Chiefs, and now he's like a pivotal piece of all that. It's really cool to see. It was obviously helpful to have someone with similar values to you, and just guys that you can kind of lean on at times. So yeah, I was super appreciative of that, and cool relationships to carry on with.
Yeah. And Emily, that had to have been nice for you, because you mentioned that the wives are kind of their own little tribe, because only you guys understand, what's going on, and the ins and outs of that. So what was it like for you there? Did you develop a good group of friends that you could kind of rely on during those hard times?
Yeah, great question. Both at the Raiders and the Chiefs, they would do a weekly Bible study, and that is kind of where we would all you end up, doing some Bible study and talking through the faith, which was really awesome too, to see so many great Christian families throughout the NFL. But you also just can, be there with each other week to week. How's everyone doing? How's your husband's injury? How's this going? And it's just a good time to develop those friendships. So I'm so thankful for the great group of friends that really I developed at both places. And ultimately, you just see how many good people there are in the world. And it was so inspiring to see just the faith that these other women and their husbands have through this as well, from all over the country. And you come together and just can kind of bond through that. So that was really special.
Matt, I'm curious, because I'm sure it's not like you're singing Kumbaya with the guys that are ahead of you. Like, I'm just thinking of Travis Kelce, and you got to be in practice with him. Was it something where he would sometimes take you under his wing and like, hey, let me help you out with this, or what's that situation like when you're behind kind of the star player?
Yeah, you never really know once you're like what you're gonna get. But I think he's such on a level, and his personality is so carefree. He's like, okay, no one's gonna take my spot. Like, and it was true. Like, no one was gonna take his spot. He
Yeah.
was the Mahomes and him, like, they're the key pieces. So he was awesome, where he was just like, like you said, like, would take me under his wing sometimes, be like, hey, why'd you do it this way? You should think about doing this, or I do this sometimes, you should try it. And you're like, oh wow, that actually works. Or even Porter sometimes would be like, because they watch tape of him. How does he do what he does all the time? And how is he so open when he's double, triple teamed? So it was just things just slowing the game down. Sometimes when you are a backup or someone, you're like, I need to run full speed like a robot, just like the play is drawn up. But if you ever watch Kelsey, like, he's just going to run a completely random route if the defense gives it to him, and Mahomes is on that page with him, and he'll just throw it and trust it. So when you play a little bit more free, obviously you play better. And I think that's why I performed so well that last training camp, was because I was confident in the playbook, trying some things like, okay, I can't do that, but I'm going to try it out. Like, try it at least. What Travis does. Like, maybe my body doesn't work like that, but I'm going to give it a shot. And that just gave me more confidence and allowed me to make more plays. And it was cool. So yeah, I felt like it just kind of which is kind of stinks, but on my way out was kind of like I was on probably the best level of understanding football, playing football, all that.
Well, you guys got to be a part of some epic Super Bowl celebrations, if nothing else, right? All right, Emily, I got to know, what is Taylor Swift like in real life? I'm sure you got that question 8,000 times. I got to know.
No, I don't mind the question at all. She was so kind, just as I had heard that she was. And we had missed actually a couple opportunities to meet her, not being able basically to find babysitters for our girls at different Chiefs events that she would end up appearing at. And I was like, Matt, we are blowing it. Like I just have been a fan my whole life. Me and my sister grew up as many girls are obviously huge fans. But I was like, oh, I just really hope she'll be at this New Year's party. So when her and Travis walked in, I was just like, Matt, don't move. We are going to say hello. And we were kind of some of the first people right there when they came in. And Travis said hello and gave us hugs. And then Taylor and shook our hands. And she's taller in life than you'd expect. Sometimes you meet celebrities and they're small. She's tall and beautiful and was just really nice. And I told her that me and my daughter listened to her on the way to preschool every morning. And yeah, she just, there was obviously a swarm pretty much at that point, but she was super kind. And Andy's obsessed with both of them. So our 4-year-old.
I love that. That's really cool. And you're like, that's going to be cool for her as she gets older. And you like have this picture with her. You're like,
yeah,
see how cool your mom is. Like, I got to meet her.
I think she realizes right now how rare that is.
Yep.
True.
All right, Matt, to kind of wrap up everything, I can't imagine the ups and downs that you guys had throughout your NFL career and even your BYU career. But what would you say is the most positive takeaway you got from your time in the NFL?
I think the most positive was maybe if not getting the chances or the opportunities, but knowing that I still was felt like in my mind was playing the best football, was in a situation where given that opportunity, I would have been able to capitalize on it. And just being able to be a part of such a great organization, the Chiefs, just from top down, like obviously being on people will play almost 10 to however many years and never get that opportunity. And I can still walk around with 2 rings. And if I want to, just don't pull up stats or anything, but in 10 years or something, I can create a little exaggeration or something.
Just pull up those 2 touchdowns. I don't need to know
right?
where they came
No,
from.
now I'm in a nursing home and I can just put the touchdowns on replay, and these people with dementia and Alzheimer's will have no idea what's going on. No, but yeah, just grateful for that. I know there's always times where you're like, man, what if this and that? What if this never happened? What if this did happen? But there's just this video that I kind of learned from this one motivational speaker. It was Inky Johnson, who also in college had a pretty bad injury and was like, his arm was paralyzed ever since then. And basically his thing that struck me was like, we all know what to do when God says yes to our prayers, but how do we respond or react when God says no? Or let's maybe reroute you to something else. So that's kind of what we've been going through this past year, figuring out, okay, maybe this wasn't in the cards for us, even though it was in my mind what I really wanted and wanted to push for and expected a long career with a lot of playing time. But maybe it was just something that we need to figure out and learn. And I feel like I'm kind of in that grind phase of a new career, new industry, new lifestyle, going from alpha males to
old people,
nursing home.
Yep. The opposite.
nursing home operation. It's a little bit different, but a lot of bit different. But yeah, just kind of trusting, okay, what we felt prompted to do this. We felt prompted to move here. We felt prompted to leave California or leave for California, then come back to Kansas City for this job. And I feel like Emily and I often are just like, okay, let's think and figure out and continue to look for those reasons why Heavenly Father wants us in this in this situation.
Life's a journey, right? Life is a journey, as they say. Well, I can't wait to see what's ahead for you guys. I'm here with former BYU athletes, Emily and Matt Bushman. Guys, I really appreciate you taking the time with me today. Thanks for being here, and I can't wait for you to meet your sweet baby boy.
Me too. A couple weeks, unless
Yes.
it's soon. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Matt and Emily Bushman for coming on the show with me. Tori Kimball helped produce this episode with senior producer Terry South. You can join the Royal Legacy wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYUradio.org. Royal Legacy is a production of BYU Broadcasting.